All right, so part 2 of our experiment is where we're going to use 25 milliliters of a 0.75 molar sodium hydroxide solution and 0.75 molar, that's our concentration, our molar concentration of an HCl solution. Now, we're going to use our calorimeter again. And the first thing that I'm going to do is get my baseline temperature. So I'm using equal volumes of these two solutions. So it doesn't matter which one I transfer into which. As a general rule of thumb, you want to transfer acid into a base though. So I'm gonna put my base, my sodium hydroxide, into my calorimeter. Now, my calorimeter is going to get my initial temperature for my sodium hydroxide solution, which I'm gonna lower my camera down just a little bit so that we're at level with the bench top. So I can see that this reads 20.5 degrees Celsius. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer my 0.75 molar HCl solution. So what this is going to tell me is this is going to tell me what heat is produced in the neutralization of HCl and sodium hydroxide. So the mixing of sodium hydroxide and HCl, what heat is evolved from the mixing of those two solutions. Okay, now this temperature change is happening a bit more rapidly because what I'm seeing is I'm seeing my two solutions mix very easily. I don't have to wait for anything to dissolve, and my temperature goes up pretty easily and quickly. And I see that my temperature looks like, and I'm gonna stir it a little bit, but I don't have to stir it too much because I'm not really worried about something dissolving or not dissolving. It's hit 25.0 degrees Celsius. Okay, so that's what I've got. I've got 25 degrees Celsius. I'll let it sit in there for a little bit longer. One thing that you always want to be cautious of is you don't want to let your thermometer kind of weigh down your calorimeter because it will knock it over. But yeah, it has hit 25 degrees Celsius. So part 2 of my experiment is simply looking at the two different solutions, the sodium hydroxide and the HCl, and seeing, well, when you mix the two in their aqueous forms, what heat is evolved, what temperature change takes place. So it's kind of like, or it's kind of separate from part 1, because part 1 we were simply looking at sodium hydroxide going into solutions, so sodium hydroxide ionizing. Part 2, well, we're looking at the actual neutralization and the heat of neutralization.